This week's deals from Miles Franklin are 1 ounce 2024 Eagles 550 over spot. We also have 90% constitutional silver dimes and quarters 275 over spot, and 10th ounce gold Eagles $51 over melt. We have a massive inventory, all great prices. Text, email, or call slayer@milesfranklin.com. I'd be happy to help. And now let's get into the video. Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are here with Andy Schectman for another episode. It's been a long time, too long, but Andy's been in London, all over the world like he usually is. It's going to be a good episode. I'm really excited to talk to Andy, see what's new, what happened with silver. You know, things are going so crazy right now. So Andy, welcome back. What's up? What's new? How you been?
I'm been all right, brother. It's great to see you. Been all around Europe for a couple of weeks, a week in London with some great business meetings. I talked with you a little bit about what's happening. I'm not ready to announce. In fact, I'm looking at some contracts here right on my screen that I will announce, I think, next week. That will be, I think, things that people will like and be interested in. And I think you seem to think so too. Not ready to make the announcement, but it was a cool meeting. I'll show you since I showed it. I'll show everyone since I showed you. We went from there to Amsterdam, and here's what happens when you party in Amsterdam too much. You end up with a periodic table of elements on your arm on a tattoo, which I like actually. It took a couple 2 hours, hurt a little bit, but it was all right. And you know, it's all good. The world is changing. You know, in the 2 weeks I was gone, I think gold moved up $200, and it's a crazy environment right now. Silver gone from 22 to 28 pretty quickly, and you know, the Monday morning, silver opened up in Shanghai up 7% limit, and it triggered the stops. It opened up 7% higher. It was up 10% for the week last week. It's being sold for over $31 or right around $31 an ounce in Shanghai right now at a arbitrage premium of roughly $3. Gold maybe 50, 60, $70 higher in Shanghai. They are doing all they can to completely and totally drain the system. And we found out also that India has massively increased their silver intake by 260% in February. They've already imported 2,932 tons in the first 2 months of the year, compared to 3,625 tons for all of last year, which was like a massive amount. And in the last 2 years, they've, you know, not counting this, they had already purchased 400 million ounces. You add this to it, and they are going to do all they can to drain the silver coffers around the globe. So yeah, things are getting pretty exciting, man, for sure.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that next. This is the article. India imports up 260% in February, and they expect another 66% increase this year. Yeah, that's funny you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's roughly 40-some million ounces on Comex that are for sale, backing the contracts that are rehypothecated by a factor of 15, 16, 1700%. And yet India has bought 10 now with this, you know, almost 20 times that amount. So this is a country that understands what is happening. They understand that the West is using the leverage of the Comex and the LBMA to control prices, and they're using it against us. You know, when the Comex was designed all these years ago in '74, right after the day after President Ford allowed gold to be made legal again, they needed to control the price. So they came up with the system, and the system was, we'll create fake gold and fake money to buy it. What I mean by that is that they rehypothecate. As I mentioned, right now, silver is rehypothecated like 1,700%, and gold's a little bit less than that. But the point of it is that what they do is, back then especially, you first have to understand that no one really ever stood for delivery. You know, 1% of the contracts issued would stand for delivery. It was used to hedge exposure for producers and farmers and all sorts of things, where you would, you know, hedge wheat when you plant a field in April and hedge its production into September when it's harvested, when the farmer or the baker can buy the contract in September with a guaranteed price, and the farmer can sell a contract in April for delivery in September for a guaranteed price, and everyone wins. And anyways, but in terms of gold and silver, it was, they didn't want to let it get out of control. It was after the London gold pool, so they didn't want to let it get out of control because it signals the weakness in the system. So the system that they would create would be like this. When I say fake gold and fake money, like if I have $100,000 in my margin account right now, it costs about $8,000 in my margin account in order to buy a 100-ounce gold contract. Now I don't have to spend that $8,000; it just has to sit in that margin account. And if the price doesn't go against me, I never pay for it. The trade itself, or unless I take delivery, the trade itself is, a few bucks, just like any trade. But the margin account is what allows me to control the silver and the gold. So gold in this case. So if the Comex says, look, we can sell that one contract, 100 times to 100 different people, no one ever takes possession of it anyway. They'll pay us for it. We'll say, okay, you own it. They're never going to take possession of it. And all you got to do to pay for it is have money in your margin account. So they don't even have to pay for it. It will create all of this volume in contracts that allows us to control the price. No one ever stood for delivery, but that's changing now, you see, and the suppression through rehypothecation or manipulation of the contracts is ending because you're having all of the countries say, thank you. I appreciate that. See, because now India and China are not third world. They're industrialized, rich, and savvy. And they're saying, wonderful, thank you so much. I'll stand for delivery. And the LBMA has about the lowest amount of silver they've ever had, ever on hand. The Comex is watching 400 million plus ounces be bled out over the last 2 years. And the whole system is being bled dry using the suppression of the West. I want to read to you something to prove that they understand this. This is something that I've said on your show a gazillion times over the last year plus about how that they're going to issue a BRICS common currency at some point, and that it will be pegged to a basket of currencies and a basket of commodities. We've said that. Sergei Glaziev has told us that for 3 years. I've said it on 1,000+ podcasts, and it will happen. Didn't happen in August, might not happen in October. Maybe it will, the October meeting in Russia, but it will happen eventually. Until then, what they've been doing, by the way, just to digress for a moment, they trade with their local currencies instead of using dollar to settle. China just canceled huge amount of thousands of tons of wheat from Australia and the United States. They're now buying it from Russia and Brazil, and they're doing that in a way whereby they are paying for it. These countries for the wheat, they'll accept yuan for it, and then instead of holding that yuan, normally it would have been dollars, which creates demand for the dollars, but instead they'll use the digital yuan, and then they'll take that yuan and send it back to the Shanghai Gold Exchange, where they can immediately convert that yuan into gold, which is what? The only other tier 1 reserve asset. And so, then instead of what they would have normally done is settle in dollars and then take the proceeds and buy treasuries. Instead of doing that, they're buying gold and they're selling treasuries. So they're replacing treasuries, which can be sanctioned and confiscated. The idiot, brain dead Treasury Secretary Yellen in Brazil, of all places, a charter member of BRICS, publicly says we need to confiscate Russian assets, not just seize them, but confiscate them to fund the Ukrainian war. What an idiot. Complete and total stupidity. So who the hell would want to buy our treasury bonds that have inflation risk, have been very volatile? In fact, more volatile last year than gold for the first time in 45 years. And as proven, if you don't align with them, they'll take it from you and they'll confiscate it if we don't align ideologically. So much so that they've just developed the BRICS Grain Exchange, where, before I finish on what I was going to say, the one thing they say about the BRICS Grain Exchange is that global prices are determined by the Chicago Commodity Exchange. Moscow and China seek to move away from trading grain for U.S. dollars in favor of the national currencies of BRICS member states. Well, China just canceled these massive contracts last week with Australia and the U.S. farmers buying it from Russia, buying it from corn and soybeans from Brazil instead of the U.S., paying in yuan instead of U.S. dollars. And then those countries, instead of stockpiling those currencies, which would have been dollars, they switch it into gold on the Shanghai Exchange, take possession instead of buying treasuries. This is happening right out from underneath us. But to prove they know what's going on, I'm going to read to you something. So there was an article that came out. Another finance minister, a Kremlin aide named Yuri Ushakov, came out and he said, look, we are indeed developing a currency. And the idea of the currency is that there will be two baskets, one basket of national currencies of the countries involved, one currency of one basket of commodities. And of course, they mentioned that it will be digital in the digital form, which means it can be used without the banking system, just like the Project M Bridge that they developed, which we just saw the first ever cross-border payment for gold using the digital yuan. It sidesteps the SWIFT. They can go and not be, have to go through the intermediary banks of the West. They can go right on Project M Bridge, trade their digital currencies with another currency to buy the commodity and accept digital yuan. So in any case, or any of these digital currencies. So in any case, here's what he says. So we know, we've talked about a basket of currencies and a basket of commodities. That's nothing new. But how about this? And I've been saying this for 3 years, and it's coming, and you can see they know it. Second part is price. For the moment, price is determined by Western speculation. For the moment, price is determined by Western speculation. We produce all of these commodities and we consume them. I mean, China produces more gold than anyone in the world, and they're the largest accumulators of it right next to India. And so, we produce, we consume, yet we do not have the ability but we do not have our own price mechanism, which will balance supply and demand. Now, let me stop there for a minute. What did I tell you about the way the Comex was designed? If it were done one-to-one, supply demand would be balanced. But instead of doing it one-to-one, they rehypothecate the shit out of it, over leverage it, create more and more and more and more contracts to control and suppress the price, right? It's not one-to-one. The rehypothecation right now in silver is like 1,700%, not one-to-one. So we produce, we consume, but we do not have our own price mechanism, which will balance supply and demand. During the COVID panic, the price of oil fell to nearly zero. Now, as I've said on 12 podcasts this week, we know that's wrong. It went to negative $40 a barrel because all the tankers were loaded with oil. During COVID, they couldn't get into the ports, so no one wanted it. How about we'll pay you $40 a barrel? This is what happens when the futures control the price. The speculators, the gamblers, they create distortions. So he says it fell to nearly zero. He's wrong there. It was negative 40. But he goes on to say it's impossible to make any strategic planning for economic development if you do not control prices of basic commodities. Here's where it gets good. Price formation with this new currency should get rid of Western exchanges of commodities. Read that one more time. Price formation with this new currency should get rid of Western exchanges of commodities. So they understand what we're doing. They understand that we are suppressing the price of gold and silver, but they're using it against us. And I've been saying that forever. Like jiu-jitsu, you use your opponent's leverage against them. They are using the suppression of the Western paper market to drain the Comex, to drain the LBMA, to drain everything. And now, after they've been very effective at that, now they're doing arbitrage where they're turning up the heat, where the price of gold and silver are priced much higher in Shanghai, $3 higher on silver, and it opened up 7% limit up on Monday. Didn't do that here. So they're pricing it higher there to attract the traders who have access to all three platforms, Shanghai, LBMA, and Comex, and to buy on the West and deliver to the East for a premium. That shit ain't ever coming back. Never. And they're slowly, methodically doing it the right way. And I always say logarithmic decay. That's going to be the next tattoo, little by little, then all at once. Well, that's what they're doing. Little by little by little by little, then boom, all at once. So when we talk about India importing all of this silver using the suppression of the brain dead West, they know it. And they know that at some point, no one will be stupid enough to trust the Western price and deliver at those stupid prices. And that's when, boom, the Comex and the LBMA bust. And that's when the new price is set on a cash and carry basis in Moscow, in Dubai, and in Shanghai, and other parts of the world that accumulate and produce and respect these commodities for what they should be. And it won't just be precious metals. It'll be commodities or soft commodities like corn, like wheat, like the new BRICS grain exchange. But how about the fact that they own the LME, the London Metals Exchange, which isn't precious metals, it's base metals, steel, copper, aluminum, zinc, nickel, all that stuff, right? So they own it. They own it. And now they want to start putting the warehousing of all of these metals traded in London on the LME in China. Do you see a problem here? Do you see what they're doing? They're going to buy up all the grain and all the wheat and all the corn and the soybeans. They're buying all the base metals, the copper, the aluminum, the steel, the zinc. They're buying all the precious metals. They're going into Africa. They're going into South America through the Belt Road Initiative, and they're striking deals. And those deals are mutually cooperative. We will come into your country, which is unindustrialized and third world, and we will help you pull your natural resources out of the ground. We will build railways and roads and maritime channels to help you deliver it. We will industrialize your country. We will enrich it, your country, and we want to cut. That's how business is done. Mutually respectful, mutually beneficial. We go in with a gun to someone's head and coercion and make them do things that they don't want to do when China and this new growing union of countries is doing it a different way. They are doing it in a mutually cooperative way. And you know, I mentioned to you that we saw that first in 2023, late 2023, like in November, December, the first ever cross-border settlement for gold using the digital yuan. And remember, we've talked about the Belt Road Initiative for a very long time, right? What is it? It's 150 plus countries. Right now, 75% of human population, 50 plus percent of global GDP and growing. And a lot of these countries are unindustrialized. So check this out. Chinese government just launched a new public blockchain infrastructure platform led by the Conflux network. The new platform, dubbed Ultra Large Scale Blockchain Infrastructure Platform for the Belt Road Initiative, aims to create a public blockchain infrastructure platform. This platform will be able to support the implementation of cross-border cooperation projects along the Belt Road Initiative. So you have 75% of human population right there. And all of the deals I have mentioned for years are being settled on the digital yuan, most of them, the contracts that are building out this infrastructure. Now they have the ability, once they've industrialized and pulled all the shit out of the ground and built the roads and the bridges and the railroads and the maritime channels, to pay for it all, going back and forth, sidestepping the SWIFT on a digital system like Project M Bridge, which cuts the West out completely and totally. And all of the pathways are connecting to the BRICS pathways, like the North-South corridor that goes from like Iran to Russia or to India, past Russia, and instead of going through, you know, the Indian Ocean where you got the U.S. Navy. All of these things are being done, isolating the West. And if you see the little by little, the chessboard, little by little by little by little, look at all the pieces, infrastructure. Look at the 10 countries that have already signed on to BRICS. And one of the countries that has formally applied, I believe, is Sudan. And if you look at next to Egypt and Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and Iran, they have the entire Red Sea and Straits of Hormuz now covered, the entire thing. They have shipping lanes. They have relationships done mutually beneficially all over the world with the majority of human population. You have the president of Belarus calling for a summit to join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. See that word cooperation? And the Eurasian Economic Union into the BRICS. I've been saying that for 3 years. The SCO, which both Iran and Saudi Arabia have applied to. Iran is a full member. Saudi Arabia will be this year. They are a observant member last year, is the largest regional military and financial organization in the world. You put all these groups together with the Belt Road, you're talking the majority of human population, the majority of all the rare earth metals, the majority of all of the soft and hard commodities, and the majority of all the precious metals, not to mention oil and natural gas. It's a situation that is growing rapidly. And the fact that our media doesn't just do a horseshit job of it, they do no job of telling any of us what's happening. And this infrastructure is becoming very impressive. And everyone says, the naysayers, very smart people, will say, well, the bond market, this and the bond, they don't have a bond market. Who's going to trust them? Who trusts us anymore? And our bonds, which have been horrible, no one wants anymore. So instead, they sell bonds and they buy gold, which has no counterparty liability, which has outperformed the bond market, which has a 5,000-year history of being wealth and the debt of a country in the form of a bond has about that big of a historical precedent of being money or wealth. So this is all happening right out from underneath us. And the thing that scares me, my man, more than anything else is that, and I don't mean to sound conceited or bigger headed than I need to be, and that is that it freaks me out that I've been right about all this stuff and the speed at which it's accelerating. If this doesn't wake people up, and the problem is we don't have millions of people listening to us here on this channel like they do on the Sunday evening news or 60 Minutes or whatever, where they should really tell the world exactly what's happening. And we are being challenged in every way for supremacy, and it's being done in a methodical fashion. Instead of doing it, we got to do it now, got to do it. No, 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 no. This has been 17 years in the works. It's only now that it's just accelerating, but accelerating in mass, in infrastructure. 3 of the 4 largest nuclear arsenals on the planet, the majority of human population, a larger swath of global GDP already. I mean, on and on and on and on. And you can see exactly what is happening. And I just think that it's important for people to not miss this. I really do. And so those are some of the things that have happened while I've been gone. And there's a lot more to talk about, but willing to shut up and listen to you for one other thing I want to say. This one other thing. On Friday, some idiot shorted silver ETF, naked shorted an ETF, which I think each share is like 10 ounces of silver. They shorted 12,599,986 shares. That's $290 million in one day, one person shorted. And then on Monday, it opened limit up 7% in China and had a big day Monday. It's been doing very well. Today it's down after after the boots of higher inflation. So we gotta kill the canary, step on it a little bit. But that's just one day. It's been quite a run. They're doing all they can to hold it back, but they're losing the ability. And if they continue to do it, it's a very dangerous game. It's a very, very, very dangerous game. The one thing they do by shorting it on SLV here is they're not shorting contracts that can stand for delivery. They're just affecting the price here. So anyways, bottom line is that, as the Chinese curse says, my man, may you live in interesting times. And these are 100%, 100% interesting for sure.
Yeah, what you were mentioning, this was actually something I was going to cover for a video. This came out today. It's talking about Russia. It says the US dollar and the euro. They said 2/3 of export and import payments are carried out in local currency, she added, presenting the central bank's annual report for 2023 to the Russian lower house parliament, State Duma. According to her, exchange of financial information within the country has mainly shifted to Russian system for transfer of financial messages, or SPFS, and the exchange via SWIFT within Russia has completely stopped.
Yeah, and that's their form of SWIFT, and the Chinese have one too called SIPS, the cross. What is it? It's the cross. Oh gosh, cross. I forgot what it is. I used to know it.
CIPS.
CIPS, yes. It's cross-border international payment system, something along those lines, and it's just like SWIFT. So and Project Bridge and all of these things that they're doing to get out of the way of the one thing that allows the West to sanction, and it's SWIFT.
Yeah, see, she noted all these elements are of a new sanctions-resistant infrastructure for cross-border settlements.
Yep.
Yeah, SPFS has been used much more actively for external calculations. In total, more than 160 foreign participants from 20 countries have joined the system.
Yep.
Man.
And that's to be expected. When you weaponize the dollar, that's not our prerogative to do. We're the world reserve currency. We should remain neutral. It should be for world opinion, if anything. And then you go as far as saying, let's confiscate it and do it in Brazil when you're talking about another member of BRICS. Let's confiscate Russians' reserves. I mean, it's about as idiotic as can be, the hubris, the idiocy. It's just so stupid. And it's just beginning, man. And so, yeah, I think that we haven't seen anything yet. We have the big meeting in October. We got the election in November. You have Zimbabwe who just issued a new gold-backed currency to replace their ZiG or the ZiG is the new currency replacing their former currency, which has been in the middle of crises for the last 25 years. People have 21 days to exchange the old for the new. It's supposed to be gold backed, right? I mean, that's what they're telling us anyway. I haven't researched it enough to know if it's redeemable or whatnot, but they did also apply to the BRICS New Development Bank and formally applied to BRICS. So all of these countries are accumulating gold, and they've accumulated a ton of gold. The Central Bank of Zimbabwe has, since introducing laws recently making their mining companies pay part of their royalties using gold to the country. So, this is, you're talking an infrastructure that's being built, whether it be the BRICS, the Belt Road Initiative, or any of the financial like Mbridge or SIPS or the Russian. And I want to read to you something again, kind of similar to what I just said, how we talk about the Chinese think in terms of decades. This was a statement made by, and I can't pronounce his name, it's XU. I don't know what that would be, Zhu. And then Lud, Luode, Lud. He was the chairman of the Shanghai Gold Exchange in May of 2014, May 15th, 2014. Very trite statement. He says, Shanghai Gold will change the current gold market with its consumed in the East but priced in the West arrangement. When China has the right, finally, to speak in the international gold market, the true price of gold will be revealed. So, consumed in the East, but priced in the West. But when we have our say, the new price of gold will be revealed, the true price. Well, what do you think they're doing right now? Buying everything they can, using the suppression of the Western market. They know it, they see it, they're telling us that, and they're buying everything that's not nailed down and now arbitraging what might be nailed down to pull it up and sell it at a big premium, deliver it over there, and then we wake up one morning, boom, we don't own anything, and a whole new world is opened up right in front of us. It's crazy, dude. It really is. And the price of gold and silver have been rallying against the backdrop of higher real interest rates and a falling or a rising dollar, which has been evading the public sentiment. Everyone's freaked out and looking at Nvidia and Bitcoin. No media coverage of gold and silver. 6 months of very low retail participation. People selling into the rally, and yet it continues to go higher with virtually no American participation. Where's it all going? Who's paying for it all? Who's buying it all? Wake up, people. It's happening right now. And silver was up 10% last week, and no one even noticed it. Well, you did. I did, but the public didn't.
I made a video 2 days ago titled, Where Did All the Silver Go? And I was mentioning that. It's funny you bring that up. I also wanted to mention, before we go into this video I'm going to show, the 31-year cup and 11-year handle going on. And, because that's insane to think about. And with silver sitting at $28, almost looks comfortably. Usually when it shoots up like this, it almost like it's going to go back down
immediately. Right.
But right now it feels different. Do you think that this might be the new, not saying 28 for, because there has to be some type of pullback, but do you think that
no, there doesn't. There does not need to be a pullback right now. It could go a whole hell of a lot higher. There may be a pullback, but it's the most undervalued, suppressed market in the world. It has the largest concentrated short position of any commodity traded. And remember, you can only manipulate a market for an extended period of time by pushing it in the direction it's going. It's as dumb as a mud wall to try and hold back naked short the silver market when countries like India are saying, thank you very much. We will stand and deliver everything that we can. And that's what they're doing. So yeah, maybe it does get hit back a little bit, maybe not. Maybe 30 is the new floor. Who would have thought 2,300 would be the floor for gold? I mean, maybe it falls back, don't know. But it seems comfortable here too. So I guess we'll have to see. But it's barely above its halfway point from 1980. It's massively undervalued. It should be way north of $50 an ounce right now, just based upon the 42 to 1 gold to silver price ratio average of 100 years, let alone it's now selling it or coming out of the ground at 7 to 1, 16 to 1 for thousands of years, and now 7 to 1. It's way out of whack. So I don't think we've seen anything yet. And like a dog that you get at the pound that was abused, and every time you try to pet it, it goes like this. Well, that's how we feel. Like we're waiting to get smacked again. Well, maybe we don't this time. Maybe we do. But I will tell you, I mean, if you look at the Comex market, that it's positioned that way. but it would be very, very foolish to try and do that in an environment where there is great resiliency. On Sunday night, when the market opened up at 6 p.m., I noticed silver went down 50 cents immediately, and within 10 minutes was up 50 cents. So that's a dollar move from down
Yeah.
50 to up 50 in just a few minutes. So
It
yeah, I
shot
think
up,
there is
yeah.
great demand somewhere across the
Yeah.
globe that people are saying, do not lower the price or we're going to hold your feet to the fire. So I guess we'll have to see, man. Maybe this time is different. Feels that
Yeah.
way.
I meant within like the overbought territory. Like if it was a pullback, I just meant for like maybe a week at
Markets can
most.
stay overbought
But
and
yeah,
irrational for extended
yeah,
periods of time,
that is
longer than you
true.
can stay solvent. So, and technical analysis in a rigged market is bullshit.
Yeah,
So,
that's also true.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm being hopeful here, but I guess we'll have
yeah.
to see. Everything you're saying is logical.
Yeah, because I mean, they're like they're mentioning, gold's at all-time highs, silver's not even half of its all-time high, or a little, a little over half of its all-time high now, which means silver still has a lot of room to run. I compare them like volcanoes, like gold is a volcano, silver's a volcano. Gold's volcano already erupted, silver's hasn't yet. And the more magma that builds up and builds up, the bigger the explosion is going to be. And I definitely think that with the gold to silver ratio as well, still sitting at like, mid 80s with the ratio it should be 7-1 ratio comes out of the earth's crust, but let's be lenient and say 16-1, what it's been for thousands of years. That still puts silver at a much higher price. So I don't know. I
About
thought,
300
yeah,
plus dollars. So yeah,
yeah,
it does. And at 42 to 1, which is the 150-year average, it's at 53 or $4. So yeah,
yeah.
it's stupid cheap, and India knows it, China knows it, and you can see by their comments they do know it, and they will use that against us until there's nothing left to be delivered at these stupid prices.
So I want to show a video real quick, just a real quick clip, because I have to get this shown in front of as many people as I possibly can, as I humanly can, because of the how this is how this was taken. So can you see it
Yeah,
on screen? Okay, so this guy, 365 Days of Silver, made a video on April 1st showing a GPS tracker inside of a monster box and shows how to deactivate it. It also shows these microchips and even says that these are inside of the coins themselves, not just the monster box. This is another video he made as well, right before that, saying there's chips inside of these. Well, a lot of people, and I mean, this video has like 50,000 views now. A lot of people thought that was real. They actually think that there's GPS trackers inside of the Type 2 Eagles. That was an April Fool's joke. And he never mentioned it wasn't. It actually is. Like, I'm not just speculating. He admitted it. The comment section, at first everyone believed it. Comment section, now it's clear as day that finally, it kind of got exposed. But a lot of people started telling other people that it's real, and most people, I think like 80% of the comments, people believed it, saying they're never going to buy Eagles again, saying that they're going to stick with yada yada. And that it's just, it bugs me because there's misinformation going around, especially with something like this, when it was a joke just taken too far. And I even talked to the guy myself. I don't, I have no problems with him. I just wish he would have came out publicly and mentioned like, hey, everyone, this was just an April Fool's joke. I don't know. Cause
it's not cool, man. It isn't.
yeah,
And not only the anxiety, I mean, he's telling people to pull their coins out and soak them in freaking water,
yeah,
and to it's not cool, and I think it was immature and irresponsible. There are a lot of other far less there
yeah,
milder April Fool's jokes he could have played, but to
yeah,
do that to people, make them open their boxes and maybe even ruin their coins,
yeah,
drill holes through them or whatever, it's just not cool. And um, that's not the kind of April Fool's joke that I'm a fan of. And I
yeah,
think that when you're on YouTube and you have a following, you have a responsibility. right?
Yeah.
To be an adult, to act in a certain way. If people are listening to you for advice, I mean, so I saw that video. I'm in London and I'm getting my phone blown up over it. Pissed me off.
Same.
And
Same.
I called my operations, like, what the hell is this? He's like, dude, I've opened 5,000 boxes in the past, and there ain't nothing in there. And we
Right.
have all of the high-tech imagery material equipment, and there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
But to do that and to freak people out and to
Yeah.
not be immediately like just kidding ain't cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, the guy should be ashamed of himself as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. That really bugged me, man. It really bugged me. And
Should.
just the
It
fact,
should
like,
bug everybody.
I told him, like, I on in the video, I was like, can you please make a follow up because people are blowing me up. He's like, you should just do it yourself because I have a bigger platform. Well, but not all my subscribers, or not all his audience. Just, I don't know, man. That's
Well, a
just,
guy like that
I,
doesn't deserve a big platform because it just doesn't. It's just there are better things that you can do. And if you want to talk about something that is supposedly being done to help the public, then don't be an idiot about it. And, it's just wrong. And it's
yeah,
childish. It's not even worth wasting our breath on. But
yeah,
needless to say, no, it is not true. And
right,
April Fool's is a stupid day anyway, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, yeah, man. So, trying to think what else. There's a lot that's been happening. Trying to think of some videos. Is there anything else on the top of your head right now that you wanted to talk about?
Well, you got our debt increasing right now. It increased from March 1st to
Oh,
March
what?
20th by a total of $168 billion in 20 days. Our funding bill just passed to 1.2 trillion funding bill debt, of which $850,000 thankfully goes to LGBTQ senior housing. Why do they have to throw the
Nice.
LGBTQ in there? Why can't they just call it
Right.
senior housing? Biden, this moronic president of ours, has for the third time in a row drained the strategic petroleum reserve down to its lowest level ever and vetoed filling it back up. Our debt is increasing by a trillion a quarter and the interest expense by 100 billion a quarter. And so we are entering that period of time where things are going to start to get really, really, really real. That's why you saw the Fed not lower rates. And in a normal environment, higher rates are bad for gold because gold yields nothing in comparison. But now high rates are actually good for gold. And I don't think many people understand this. To me, what it symbolizes is the world has no interest in our bonds anymore. And so the Fed has to come in and ultimately they're going to be the ones that monetize gold, making rates go higher, which will lead to, or actually, excuse me, making rates go lower. Monetize meaning they're going to buy the bonds, but that leads to hyperinflation, which ultimately leads to much higher rates. They're in a pickle, and right now the rising rates, the correlations really don't matter, right? And the Chinese and the Russians and the Indians, they don't care about high yields and the correlation between real interest rates and the price of gold and silver. They don't care about a strong dollar and how that negatively impacts the demand for silver. They don't care about a gold silver ratio. They don't care about any of that. They just want the metal. They want the commodities. They don't care what it costs. China's been mining gold and silver for years, even when it was uneconomical. They were mining it, when it was 3, 4, 500 an ounce, and it cost them $1,000 to pull it out of the ground. They didn't care. It looks like a genius now, using our trade imbalance to do so. So yeah, I think that you're going to start to see things get. I mean, it looks like the debt crisis is getting more like a debt spiral, and the flowing of gold from west to east is now a real wealth transfer from west to east, and I think it's sad how how much the West is underestimating the significance of what's happening. And these countries are selling bonds and replacing the proceeds with gold, and that's the bottom line, and silver, and you're beginning to see it. And rates aren't going lower, inflation's not going away, the economy's going to get worse. This is just beginning, and I wish again I wasn't such a buzzkill, but you know, this is getting real, and quietly doing so with the public completely out of the picture, not noticing what's going on. It is getting busier again right now, but you know, I think gold has been rallying because of the buying of by the central banks, and also because the market and the world has realized the corner that the Fed has painted themselves into. They can't raise rates, and they can't and won't stop spending. So what you gonna do? You're spending and going into a debt by $1.25 trillion, and you can't stop. You're addicted to it, and you can't raise rates, or you blow it all up. What are you gonna do? So this is at the same time we've seen net outflows out of the ETFs to almost $6 billion. The public selling gold into the rally and buying Nvidia and Bitcoin as the central banks buy more and more and more and more and more and more. It's classic misdirection. It's classic big money front running, the small money, the dumb money doing the wrong thing when the big money is doing the right thing. And all of the attention that's given to the parabolic rises, and maybe rightfully so, they have been pretty impressive with Nvidia and Bitcoin, is being ignored by the gold crowd. And yet when we talk about gold like it's this pet rock, it's averaged a 9.2% annual compounding return since 2000. It's up almost 900% since the beginning of the century. And so you tell me, is this a big deal or not? I think it is, and I think this is going to be a very, very crazy next few months as we lead to October and November. And I hope people are paying attention and loading up right now on silver, which is the most undervalued, underappreciated asset on the planet, that has more uses and utilities and need than people even can begin to imagine. So yeah, you're doing God's work. You're doing something that you should be able to look yourself in the mirror every night and say, I'm doing the right thing. And it's one of the reasons I'm so proud to be associated with you, and my company associated with you, because you get it. A lot of people don't. Sometimes getting it is difficult because you want to help so
Yeah.
many people, and there are a lot of people who maybe don't get it. And like this guy who's trying to help people and does such a massive disservice to the community by doing that April Fool's joke. Shame on you, brother, whoever you are. And I saw the video. Um, it
Yeah.
was a waste of my time, and a waste of my time to have to explain to people and to call my operations and to do all this crap
Yeah.
while I was in Europe. We got better and bigger things to do and to worry about.
Yeah. And it just sucks knowing that you can't reach everyone to tell them it's a joke. There's still tons of people to this day that believe it, that are still passing it on, that aren't going to be buying Eagles anymore, which are probably the best coin to be buying, especially with premium. It sucks. But I like how you mentioned it's not just a pet rock. These are elements on the periodic table, like your tattoo. Like gold and silver aren't created in the Earth's crust. They get here by meteors and comets, and silver being the most highly conductive metal, it literally cannot be replaced. We're talking about elements on the periodic table. So, because I hear that a lot too, is like, silver will get replaced someday by something. It's like, by what? Copper is a close second in terms of electrical conductivity, but the quality's so poor, it would actually cost more to replace silver with copper. It really is. It's like a magical metal. Like in ancient times, they thought silver was magic because it could purify water with its antimicrobial properties and how it responds to other elements. Like they literally thought silver was like this piece of magic.
Maybe it is,
Yeah,
and maybe
it
we
is.
just maybe magic
Yeah,
is should be more broadly defined. I mean, look at
yeah,
it has the greatest conductivity in light and in heat and in electricity and purification, like you said, in water, and it's used in medical devices. And maybe it is. I mean, it came from the
huh,
heavens, right? When
yeah,
someone once told me that, I remember I had been in the business for a few years. I'm like, oh, bullshit, it doesn't. And I Googled it. I'm like, yeah, it does. It came from meteors crashing into the earth, and it's pretty crazy when you read that. So yeah, you know what?
yeah,
You're spot on. And I think there are bigger institutions like the government of India who understands that very well. And
yeah,
unfortunately, we are focused on you know things that are designed to make you lots of money if you hit it right, but also carry a tremendous amount of risk right now. And I think there are a lot of people who would do very well in this environment to take a little bit of the profit off the table and put it into silver. And if you own Bitcoin, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. You can sell some Bitcoin, keep your investment, but put some of your profits into silver. We do take Bitcoin through BitPay Link. People want to trade some of their Bitcoin that have had a great run and put it into kind of like taking chips off the table, do that. And it's not a bad idea. But the public is focused on greed, and that can very quickly change to fear. And when you realize, I think that the Fed has put the market in a very dangerous position by allowing it to rise the way that it has, parabolically in a rising interest rate environment. And at some point, that's going to trigger. I mean, if rates go higher, which I anticipate ultimately they will because inflation's not going away. That's not good for the market, especially one that has been pushed up by just a handful of equities. When you look at the Russell 2000, which is a much broader measure of the economy, most of those stocks, almost all of them are down. So it's not the economy that's doing well. It's not the stock market that's doing well. It's a couple of companies that are doing well, and that's dangerous. So take some profit. Don't ride it back down. Put it into an asset that one of the few assets that hasn't been blown to all-time highs. So, you know, I I just think that the carnage when this all happens is going to be severe, and I keep waiting for it to happen. It seems to me we're getting closer to that moment, brother.
Yeah, like they say 90% of the movement happens the last 10%, something a lot of people don't realize, especially with silver since it's so slow. It's like precious metals. I feel like some people try to compare to like cryptocurrency. It's like it's not the same thing. It's not. And based more on fundamentals, which is actually a good thing, less off speculation. But unfortunately, speculation still plays a huge part. But like Ted
Well,
Butler
that will
always says,
change because
yeah, yeah,
that will change in an environment where speculation was easy to do because no one was standing for delivery.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now to hold it down and to push it down unnaturally with leverage is a very dangerous game. I always say people who don't think that can end up badly need to listen to my buddy Chris Marcus, Arcadia Economics. Google Chris Marcus, Arcadia Economics. Um, Bart Chilton, former head of the CFTC, who admitted that Bear Stearns went bankrupt because they had the largest silver short position, and silver went from 9 to 21 and it bankrupted them. And then he died a week later. So, when
Huh.
you talk about that happening, about it bankrupting institutions or hedge funds or commercial banks who are stupid enough to be short, like a mud wall stupid, in this environment, well, they'll get what they deserve, I guess, if they're that stupid. And there are very few things that I would feel less comfortable shorting right now than gold and silver in a market where the rest of the world understands what it really represents. The opposite of opaque debt instruments that can be confiscated if we don't align ideologically with those who hold our treasuries.
Hmm. Yeah, like when we're folks, when we're talking about the Comex or like price suppression, it's a lot deeper than just like spoofing, like where you have like JP Morgan just placing a false buy or sell order, canceling it before it goes through. Like it's a lot bigger than that. Like Andy said, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. These contracts, these people think they have that silver stored somewhere. It says, but it's not actually there. That silver is non-existent. Like every ounce of silver you hold in your hand, a whole bunch of other people think they own that same exact ounce, but they don't. And that's why I always say, like, if you can't hold it, you don't own it. Unless it's something that a lot of people don't understand is how suppression really works or
And not
how
only that, they don't have to pay for
real.
it, just have money in their margin account. So it
Yeah,
allows them to take huge positions.
yeah.
And that goes both ways. And they can take a massive short position. And it doesn't cost them. They just have to have a massive amount of money sitting in their margin account.
Hmm.
Okay, great. If it goes against them, they're in big trouble. But if it doesn't, they can in essence create a perception of reality.
Like what the Hunt brothers did, which is still what silver's highest price has been till this day, right? Last time the
It's the
Comex
same
got pushed.
environment now that it was then. They noticed that there were way more contracts issued than bars backing them. So they bought up all the contracts and stood for delivery. And the exchange said, well, if we don't change the rules, we're going to blow up. So they changed the rules and said, well, you can be
Yeah.
short all you want, but you can only be long a certain amount. So they were forced then to sell their contracts to drive the price
Yeah.
down, or they would have gone to jail.
Silver rule 7.
Yeah.
That's what the
You're a
rule was.
smart man. And I hope people out there understand that. I hope people are calling you to buy metals when they want to buy them because,
Yeah.
you've earned it from the public. You've worked selflessly for a very, very long time. I am honored to have you as part of the Miles Franklin team. And I hope people who are watching this, who are thinking of buying silver, call you and exploit your wisdom. That's what it's all about, and have a relationship. Because I know that when I need you, you're always there, and I hope people understand that is to me the greatest compliment I can pay someone in business. And please, if you're going to buy silver, give a call, and he will treat you very, very, very well. I know that. I've had nothing but compliments from the people you work with.
Yeah, I'm actually friends with a lot of them. I actually was talking about this in my video I posted earlier today. It's like I talk to a lot of the clients. I don't even look at them as clients. Like they're like friends, like subscribers. I talk to a lot of them, not even about buying silver. We just talk about whatever or the markets or, like I text a lot of the people just like as friends. And it's really cool to be able to experience that and also be able to offer people a safe place to buy with great prices.
One of the keys
Because
to my success is that you don't sell a product, you sell yourself. And you can buy the same thing, it's homogenous, you can buy wherever you want, but you never know how important a relationship is until there's a problem.
mm,
And you can take things for granted, but trying to reach an online company when there's a problem,
that
knowing I can
customer
instead
support,
text my buddy at 11
right?
o'clock at night, and he may be sleeping, but he's gonna read see it at some point first thing in the morning, or maybe when he wakes up, take a leak in the middle of the night. I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, I've done that a million times, man. I
yeah,
don't mean to be crude, but the truth of it is that's what it is. It's accessibility, it's accountability, and it's caring. And that's what
yeah,
you exude. And I hope people understand that I don't bring. Uh, you're a broker for my company. You're yourself. I mean, you're locking things in yourself. I don't offer that to many people. I have a lot of affiliates, but to let people lock things in themselves and do those kind of things is something that to me is the greatest compliment I can pay you. And I hope all of you out there listening, when you want to buy some metal, give this man a call and he'll treat you right. I know
yeah,
that. And that's why I'm honored to have him work with us. And I mean that for what it's
yeah.
worth.
Yeah, it's fun. Like it's a lot of, it's overwhelming at first, but I'm starting to really get the hang of it and get confidence and it is fun. And I really like how, like you were mentioning, if there was a problem, you never know, how good something is until a problem, occurs. And if there was a problem, you could literally text or call me. And if I can't figure it out, I can call literally the CEO of the company right there and I could put him in contact with you. Like with us somewhere else, it's customer support. And that's, that really, like once I realized that factor is like, man, like we really do have something unique that
Well,
we could offer
one of the
people.
ladies that you emailed me
Oh, I
about,
send you people. Yeah.
you emailed me about a lady who got taken by one of the IRA companies, and you should email her back, and she will tell you how wonderfully happy she is that we helped
She
her. And
did.
yeah, okay, good. So,
A lot of
um,
people do.
yeah. So, and this was just while I was in Europe. I took care of it, and um, that's what I mean. You don't
Yeah. A
understand
lot
until
of,
you need it. But
yeah,
we need
man.
to be very, very habitual about doing these videos. We need to start doing some live streams because
Yeah.
I think over the next few months, things are going to get nutty. And I can't think of anyone I'd rather talk about stuff with than you. And I think we need to do this, at least once a week, if not more, even if it's just for a few minutes to talk about what's going on. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be here with you, and you're doing an amazing job. I watch all your videos, and you're doing an amazing job. A lot of research. I don't think people understand how much research you do. I do because I do all that
Mm,
research, and I learn stuff
yeah.
from you as
Yeah.
well.
It's a
So
lot.
kudos to you, brother.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. Man, yeah, it's a lot of work. I actually did a live stream last week. It was a lot of fun. Like it was just like a research live stream
You know,
where I went,
I jumped on. I was in Europe, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And you didn't notice it.
oh,
I was
really? You
at
were
dinner,
on?
and yeah, if
Oh,
you go
what?
back and look at the comments, you'll see me. I said it a couple, two, three times.
Oh
I'm like, "Hey,
man.
from London," or I think I was in Paris at the time.
Was it your like you what was the
It
YouTube
said my
name?
name, Andy
Oh,
Scheckman.
what?
Yeah,
No, I someone wait, because I think I saw a comment of someone saying something like that and I was confused. That's funny.
you had
Wow.
just started it, and I'm
Okay.
like, "Hey," and you were saying like, "Hey, Mike, hey, hey, hey," and I'm like, "Hey, what's
Oh,
going on,
wow.
Slayer from Paris?"
That's cool. Yeah, that
And
was
then I had
fun.
to order my dinner, so I
Yeah.
backed out.
But
But
yeah, I just did like a research stream. I was like, instead, I was like, I do all this research for all these hours a day. Why not just live stream it and do my research while I'm talking to people? You guys can see me looking up articles and like thinking of video ideas. So it was like a research stream. It was
count
pretty
me in
cool.
on the next one, man.
Yeah,
And of course we'll
yeah,
do our normal one on Wednesday, but count me in on the next one.
yeah.
And I have done like 16 or 17 podcasts in the last three
That's
days.
insane.
I'm about ready to fall over. My
Yeah,
brain feels like a Nerf ball. And I don't know if
yeah,
I can go much longer, so I'm gonna wrap. But I love you
yeah,
like a brother, and
yeah,
I'm
man.
proud of our relationship and of our friendship and of what you are doing to represent my company, and I'm honored. And keep it up. You're doing an amazing job, and I look forward to picking up with you where we left off, brother.
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember Slayer at Miles Franklin. I got you guys. Make sure you guys are taken care of as well. So yeah, Andy, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next week.
You got it, brother. If not sooner, I look forward to it.
All
You
right.
stay well, man.
All right. Peace.
See you, bud.